Hello
Hello
there.
there.
Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. I'm Eli,
I'm Jacob.
and today we got a very special episode going on for y'all today. I'm very excited for this. It's been a long time coming. I believe the last time we did a deleted scenes episode here on Star Wars in the Galaxy was February of this year. It's been, so by that calculation, it's been 9 months. So
A little bit of time. It's been a little bit of time. That's true. That's true.
I realized with Jacob, so one of the things that as many know, I think I said this last episode, but as many know, I'm a big fan of almost everything that Disney has done since buying Star Wars in 2012. The canon reset was like that hit 10 years now. That was a few months ago. Late April 2014, now 10 years in the making.
You know, as much as I constantly say certain things really make me feel like I'm going to start sprouting gray hairs, the canon reset really does feel like it's been around forever. Like, I know we talked about Rebels 10th anniversary. I was like, holy shit, thinking about The Force Awakens 10th anniversary. I'm like, what the heck?
I mean,
but the
One
canon
Way
reset,
Out.
I'm just like, all right, sure,
One Way Out
been
turned
around.
One Way Out turned 2 like a few days ago. It's been 2 years since season 1 of Andor.
Wait, seriously?
That's completely real.
Okay, that actually does make
and
me
actually
like,
on a
question.
digression from that, I don't think Jacob was probably tuning into the D23 Brazil news.
I was definitely not tuning into D23 Brazil news. I've had way too busy a semester for that, unfortunately.
Not much happened at D23 Brazil that we need to know. There's one piece of news I will say to you.
What's that?
April 22nd, 2025. Andor, a Star Wars story, season 2.
Ooh. We
And
knew it
yes,
was coming, but
they
it's exciting.
changed the name of the show.
They changed it to Andor, a Star Wars story from just Andor?
Yes, that's correct.
Interesting. I wonder why they did that.
I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people are excited about it. I'm pretty neutral on it myself, but yeah, Andor, Star Wars Story season 2 premiering at least the first few episodes April 22nd, 2025. We'll probably be done with Andor season 1 on In a Galaxy by the time that Andor season 2 comes out, so we won't even have that nice collision, but we try. Anyway, so here's what I was going to say about the deleted scenes. While I loved almost everything the Disney era of Star Wars has done, my one thing that when George was in charge of it, I will absolutely concede was way better, was that George wanted to take us inside the creative process. And that was a very unique thing from George as a filmmaker. Not all filmmakers do that.
Yeah.
And Disney has been more guarded about deleted scenes and the filming process and all that kind of stuff, which it's not like a slight on Disney necessarily. They've also, unfortunately, been burned with some rough productions, especially of the films, so that gets complicated. But so this is going to be our penultimate deleted scenes episode on this show. That's what this was all leading to. This is going to be our penultimate episode. It's this and then one more, which we'll probably do in like 5-6 months. We'll wait quite a bit, but yeah. So we got a lot of mileage out of TCW, but there's nothing for Rebels, nothing for any of the other animated shows or live action shows. And the films are a mixed bag. So 3 out of the 5 Disney Star Wars films have deleted scenes, those being The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Yeah.
But we have enough information about what was deleted from Rogue One and The Rise of Skywalker that I figured, okay, what we're going to do for this one is we're going to do a sequels deleted scenes, just like we did original prequels. And then for the final deleted scenes episode, whenever we get to do that, it'll be Rogue One and Solo. It'll be the anthology films. Before we get into our discussion today, I gotta pull up something. All right. So here's how this episode is going to differ. This is how this episode is going to differ from our other episodes, because with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, as I already mentioned, with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, as I already mentioned, we have straight up scenes that were removed for whatever reason.
Yeah.
For Rise of Skywalker, we don't, but the people over at Wookieepedia have been able to provide us with, like, just from various sources, what was taken out of the Rise of Skywalker, at least like some vague descriptions at the very least.
Yeah.
Um,
Very one sentence descriptions, pretty much.
descriptions, but there's they're not nothing to there's not nothing to go off of. So
Yeah.
So give me a second. So Jacob, actually no, I'm going to say that. Yeah. So how this works is we talk we do summaries the old-fashioned way, like we used to on In a Galaxy. We'll summarize we'll summarize we won't summarize them all at once. We'll summarize one, then we'll talk about it, anything we
Yeah.
noted for it, and then make our ultimate decision, yes or no, do we keep or do we not keep? We understand that scenes are deleted for a reason. That being
Yeah.
said, I think,
Sometimes we
like,
don't always agree with why they were deleted or not deleted,
yes,
so
and I will say this for these. There are a bunch of I have a bunch of conditional yeses, like
mm,
yes if you cut it off here, or
mm,
yes if we do it this way, or like Jacob and I. Because this is a weird deleted scenes episode for the reason that Jacob and I have not discussed the actual media that this is being cut from
yeah.
on In a Galaxy
Yeah.
that much at
At
all.
all.
Just and so I just want to, like, just because I know that Jacob and I, one of our main where we diverge in opinions is on the sequel trilogy. So Jacob, actually, especially for you, I want to know where you are with it now. What is it? It's like it's going to be 6 years. No, it's going to be 8 years. I'm I'm just not mathing today. It's going to be 9 years since it's going to be nine
Yeah.
years since The Force Awakens. Like,
9
where are
years
you with
since
the
The
sequel
Force Awakens,
trilogy?
7 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure where I stand with the sequel trilogy right now. This is our biggest point of disagreement. I think, Eli, you definitely like the sequels quite a bit more than I do. I think overall my favorite of the three is definitely The Force Awakens. I think that despite the fact that it kind of tries a little bit too hard to just it kind of doesn't take enough risks in terms of not just treading in the tracks of A New Hope. I don't think that makes it a terrible movie, and I actually quite like The Force Awakens for what it brings. I think that the core of characters, I think that Rey, Finn, and Poe in this movie are all phenomenal. They have amazing chemistry with one another. I think seeing Finn and Rey, especially their relationship blossom, is really amazing. Seeing Rey as well kind of have her moments with Han, and having her and Han kind of establish a relationship before Han Solo obviously gets killed by Kylo Ren. I think it's a pretty solid Star Wars movie, and I enjoy it a lot. I think The Last Jedi is the one that I have the most trouble with. I think that obviously, there's a lot, this is incredibly, you know, these are well worn topics of discussion, and I don't want to say, I won't say well, it is controversial. I don't feel like I like using that word to describe story choices, but these are well worn topics of discussion and disagreement for Star Wars fans. A lot of the creative choices that the movie made didn't really work for me at the time. I haven't rewatched I rewatched these movies last year, so they're not too fresh in my mind, but they're not too far in the distant past. Um, and I think my opinion on the last two has softened over time. I think that I don't like that the way overall, fundamentally, I don't like the way that this movie is paced and set up. I think that the space chase setup just drags on for way too long. I think that I really don't like that they split up the main characters from the entire movie. It kind of feels like it takes everything that we were building towards, and that the audience, as an audience member, that I was kind of excited for and curious about from The Force Awakens, and it kind of just it kind of just takes an extremely sharp turn in very, very different directions. And I think the the Canto Bite subplot, it doesn't really work for me. And I was disappointed by how they treated Luke Skywalker as well. I'm not categorically opposed to the idea of, seeing a very, very different version of Luke, but I can't help but be disappointed, if not entirely by the choice, by the execution. For me, it didn't work. And then for the Rise of Skywalker, I just didn't enjoy that movie very much. It felt like it did not feel like a character driven movie. It felt like a MacGuffin oriented movie. So for me, I didn't care for it very much on the whole. There are parts and aspects of these two movies that I definitely do like, but on the whole, they're very much definitely not my favorite from what Star Wars has to offer. Although I can and do find things to love about both of them in their own right. So that's
Yeah,
where I stand with the sequels.
yeah. The sequels for me, I haven't talked about them online in a long time for pretty clear purposes. The Force Awakens is my least favorite of the sequels. I like them more as they go along. I know that in our circles, The Last Jedi is pretty well regarded, and I know that the Rise of Skywalker still now, even like in the circles of who we know in the space and our friends, is still very controversial. We have some friends who love it. We have some friends who hate it. We have a lot of friends who are somewhere in the middle. And I do like it. I really do. It's my second favorite Star Wars film, and I don't regret like putting it there. And I haven't changed it for a while. It's I just love the fun adventure of it. A lot of the choices that didn't work for others worked for me, especially in terms of Palpatine's return and having Rey face her now dark legacy. Okay, you wanted a family. Yeah, sure. We're gonna give you the worst family in possible, and let's see how you handle that. I think everything on Exegol is just so beautiful, and Crate. Everything on Exegol and Crate is so beautiful, and I think they're well put together, and I think the Rise of Skywalker is absolutely incredibly underrated. But yeah, all right. So that was buying time for me to put this in here. So Jacob, why don't we trade off? That's what we should do. We should trade
All right.
off. Why don't you summarize the first scene from The Force Awakens, and then we can talk about it.
All right. So in Finn's Going to Be Fine, we find ourselves on the Resistance base in Dakar. We see a shot of Finn under medical treatment, unconscious, and we see that Rey is standing in the distance looking at him, very worried. A Resistance member, I'm not exactly sure
Dr.
who,
Colonia.
Dr. Colonia, that's right. Dr. Colonia comes up to Rey and says, what did she say? Your friend's going to be fine? Is that the line?
Yeah, something like that.
She
Yeah.
pats her on the shoulder. She says, your friend's going to be fine. And then she walks away, leaving Rey looking still scared, emotional, and confused. So that's
Yeah.
the scene. What do you think about
I
this one?
I put this as a no. This didn't really do anything for me.
I
I
I,
put it as a no.
I concur. I think this doesn't add or take away much. I feel like it's implied at this point that Finn is fine. Maybe it just drives home at this point of the film. Still, they wanted to say, "Look, Rey's really, really worried about her friend," but I don't think this adds much. It's a no for me as well.
All right. So, Finn and the Villager. Finn, still when he's FN 2187, confronts. There's a villager that he confronts, and he's pointing his blaster at her, and he just cannot take the shot. He just cannot take the shot at an innocent civilian, which was supposed to be another stepping stone to in the very quick story, though still very evident story in this film of him breaking away from the First Order that he'd been indoctrinated to believe in all of his life. I like this. I think that I really do like the other indication. Like obviously we have the one of him not firing his blaster at the civilians. But I like this one even in the heat of action of him just being able to stand there and say, I don't think I should do this. I think I really like it, so I'm saying yes.
We have our first disagreement. I'm going to say no. I think I get that they want to drive the point home that Finn is having this sort of dramatic moment of reckoning, and yet I just think that the way that this shot is executed, where it's just this almost you could make a case that that's why it's like that. That's kind of this excruciatingly long back and forth wordless standoff. But I just think that we already understand what Finn is going through from what we have in the movie already. I don't think it adds enough to justify kind of slowing down and taking us out of the flow of this sequence on Jakku with the battle. I don't think it justifies it quite enough. So I'm going to say no.
All right, next one, Jacob.
So Jakku message. So in this, we see a resistance officer receiving a message over their space communication technology and taking it to Princess Leia, General Leia, saying that Poe has been captured, BB-8 is missing, and the village on Jakku was destroyed. To which Princess Leia responds, we've got to go get BB-8. We have to find BB-8. She also says, even though BB-8 is missing, never underestimate a droid.
And for me, which will be reused, by the way.
Yeah.
In Rise of Skywalker.
I think it's not. I don't love this scene. I think just the scene for its own sake. I think it doesn't make a ton of sense. Just bringing the Resistance into it at this point, it feels like it takes the focus off of our characters that we've already established. And I think, obviously, this kind of undermines the introduction that we get for Leia and C-3PO, because C-3PO is also in this scene in the theatrical cut, the final cut, when we do get that amazing moment when the Resistance transport touches down on Takodana. So for that reason and for that moment, which I think is one of the greatest moments of this movie and of the entire trilogy, of seeing Han and Leia reunite and getting that moment of Leia coming back, I'm going to say no.
So Jacob already sees on the sheet, I put it as yes, and I'm not going to say it's not what you think. I'm putting it as, this is one of my conditional yeses. I'm putting it as yes if the scene cuts off before Leia is shown. If it's literally just those two Resistance officers, and we see a little bit of the Resistance, but literally have them hand the thing, have the report, have Corsello, I think that was her in the scene, hand the report to Leia. Don't pan up, just show the hand.
Yeah,
I think that's the way to go, because I do think that at this time, just knowing oh, the Resistance is out there can really renew that sense of hope in the movie. But of course, I totally agree with you that the Leia reveal and the Leia and C-3PO reveal is perfect where it is in the film, and I would never want to ruin that. So it's a conditional yes, but it's a yes.
Fair enough.
All right. Kylo Ren searches the Falcon. A brief scene on Starkiller Base where Kylo Ren searches his father's ship, and just going through and seeing what's become of the ship after so long. Adam Driver is an incredible actor, and this scene, he does so much acting without saying a single freaking word, and without us seeing his face. And for that alone, I gotta say yes.
Excuse me. Got that. I'm very tired today. Got a lot of work to do today. I'm torn on this one. It's a very cool and emotionally resonant moment to see Kylo stand in the cockpit of the Falcon. On the other hand, does it change the dynamic of Han's death scene? And of that confrontation, if Kylo maybe knew that his father was coming and was on Starkiller Base? I mean, when I think about that, I think, that might actually make it better in a way. Not feeling quite out of the blue for him, with him knowing that this confrontation is coming, kind of adds some weight.
He's already kind of had it in his mind ever since Snoke said, "In the hands of your father, Han." So, I think
that is true. That is true. it does bring a little more immediacy. But if that's the case, then I will say
Yeah.
no. Then I will say no, because you reminded me that that scene exists where Kylo does have it in his mind that he's going to have to answer the question of his father
He might. That
at
he
some
might.
point.
This
He
this
might.
one confirms it a bit
Yeah.
more, but yeah, he might.
Yeah, because I do think that this scene does raise a lot of questions about, if the First Order was all over the Millennium Falcon and searching it, you know, how was it available for Rey, Chewie, and Finn to escape it? Which kind of, for me, that's just a fat question mark that kind of hangs over this part of the movie, were this scene to be included. So I'm going to say no still, even though it's a great scene.
All right, Leia and the Resistance. The scene of Leia talking with Corcella, her aide, that about communications with the New Republic Senate and why they're going so poorly, mostly because they believe she's a warmonger and an extremist.
Yeah.
I love Carrie Fisher, living legend. I think this scene does so much for her, but that Leia reveal, too precious. I can't in good conscience say yes.
Would this have been pre-Leia reveal?
Yes, it would have.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay,
Because
that changes my answer to no as well. I was going to say yes, but
yeah,
I will say no, because I do like that we get a hint more backstory about Leia, about the First Order, about the New Republic. Why, when we kind of are seeing that the First Order is such a threat, we also know that the New Republic is kind of doing nothing. It just gives us a little bit more context, world building wise. But yeah, I agree now. Yeah, it's got to be a no. We got to preserve that. We got to preserve that
we got to
iconic
preserve
moment.
the
We really
reveal.
do. Yeah.
All right, Jacob, can you tell us about the next one, Snow Speeder Chase?
The Snow Speeder Chase, it's a bit of an unfinished scene. So when you watch it, it looks a little funny. It looks like a fan film, which is kind of fun. But it's Finn and Rey in a snow speeder on Starkiller Base, being chased by some stormtroopers in a snow speeder. They're flying around the place. There's laser fire, and then Finn manages to take a shot that causes an explosion on the enemy speeder and knocks out the stormtroopers, making them crash. I will say I'm going with no for this one. I think
Me as well.
I think it just complicates a part of the movie that doesn't really need anything more injected into it. I think we all know why they're on Starkiller Base, in terms of, we had to rescue Rey, and now we know it's leading up to Han and Ben, as well as try to destroy the damn place. So I feel like anything more than that kind of takes away from the real tension that we're trying to build.
I think I'm fully in agreement with you on this one. Yeah, it's a no. Yeah, it's one action sequence, but it's not, doesn't do anything for me. Tunnel Standoff, which I love so much. This is on underground on Maz's castle. This shows specifically how Han and Chewbacca and Finn and Maz are captured by First Order stormtroopers. They try to go downstairs to the basement where Maz kept the Skywalker saber, but some First Order stormtroopers find them down there, and Han, as he always does, tries to bluff their way out of it by trying to confuse the stormtroopers, which works until it doesn't. God, I love Harrison Ford. I love Harrison Ford so much. I loved the. Do you guys know what a smoke is, folks? Do you know what a smoke is? It gives all the energy I feel like I'm seeing with Harrison Ford right now on the press junket for Captain America: Brave New World, where people are like, "So, what do you think about adamantium?" And he's like, "I don't know what adamantium is, kid. I just did this film to be in a." Where like Harrison Ford is the epitome of I don't give a fuck, just like and the gesture of Finna, is this something he did? Classic Harrison Ford. Like, I almost felt like this was in Indiana Jones in this scene rather than Han Solo. So I gotta say yes for this one.
This is a hard one for me. Once again, I'm torn. I think, look, I love Han Solo. you know, goofing around, the Han Solo, Harrison Ford just goofing around, injecting a lot of levity, maybe too much for this moment. I think I'm wondering if this just brings too much silliness and removes too much seriousness from what is a pretty desperate dark moment in the story. I don't know, they might have to rework it a little bit for it to really work. So I definitely understand why it was deleted. I think, although I do like it, and it does, the scene still has quite a long time to develop, before we get to the moment of, Rey being carried off in Kylo Ren's shuttle, and it's really the darkest hour. I'm gonna go with no still. I just think that this part works very well as it is, and I think that it brings a little bit too much levity. Yeah, man, shout out to Harrison Ford, because he makes this scene.
All right, next being
Unkar Plutt at Maz's castle. So Rey is in Maz's castle in the main room. Everyone's partying. Everyone's, all the aliens are there. Everything's going on. Everything's happening. And then Rey gets grabbed by none other than Unkar Plutt. He says, "Do you have any idea how much trouble you are in?" Rey points a gun at him, but he wrestles the gun away and says, I'm taking you back to Jakku. This is ridiculous. You're in so much trouble, blah, 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 blah. And then Chewbacca comes up and rips the dude's arm off. And that's it. And I don't know. It's quite violent. I think, aside from the arm dismemberment, for starters, I think it just gives us a little bit too much of that feeling of small galaxy syndrome that Star Wars can get sometimes, trying to bring Unkar Plutt back into the story at this point. I feel like for Rey's arc of sort of getting off Jakku, and leaving her scavenger life behind, you could make the argument that like bringing back Unkar Plutt and then just having him like just completely swept out of the way by Chewbacca kind of reinforces that, but I don't think it needs reinforcing. And also it raises the question of how the heck did he track them down? For me, it's just too many question marks. I'm gonna say we can keep this one out.
I really liked it. I always love like it's a hero's journey trope. I feel like of like a character threatens, like old character threatens to bring them back to their own old life. I'm thinking like Ezra in Rebels, and I just enjoy watching that asshole's arms get ripped off. So yeah, I'm gonna say yes. Wings prepare for light speed. This is just like a short call-in thing, but they don't fully invest in the call-in thing. So like this is something that happens both in honestly, we can do this now too. I believe there's another one like this in The Last Jedi, maybe. I'm trying to remember which one that was, where it's like where it was talking about like they try to do a call-in moment, but they don't fully commit to it.
If you're gonna do a call-in, you gotta commit to the call-in. You can't just do like a one dumb throwaway line, be like, light speed. Is there any other speed? That for me, that wasn't it. I didn't like that very much. I'm gonna say no.
All right, we're getting on to The Last Jedi. And the first one is an extended scene. It's an extended sequence of Finn, Rose, and DJ infiltrating the supremacy to try and shut the hyperspace tracking down. I again put a conditional yes on this. I love the tension. I love all the random Glepshido First Order officers and stormtroopers, some of whom clearly figure out that Finn and Rose and DJ are not supposed to be there. Some who are blissfully ignorant that stormtrooper in the elevator 926. I will say that my conditional yes on this is the editing was rough. I felt like there were a lot of shots that linger way too long. I remember this being something like when we were shown test footage of The Mandalorian, this was a thing, but then when The Mandalorian actually released, it seemed to be fixed. Just like like tighten up the editing, and I will say yes for the scene. So it's a
Yeah.
conditional yes, but it's still
I
a
think
yes.
didn't we was the first deleted scene not the alternate opening for The Last Jedi?
I had that above that. I that's the first one I watched is the Mega Destroyer incursion.
Oh, I'll say no for the Destroyer incursion. I think that we got what we needed. Actually, I'll go with yes. I'll go with yes. I think that it brings a little bit more substance to this sequence, or we can really get into it a little bit more, even though it doesn't radically change anything.
Yeah.
I can go with a yes for this one, actually.
All right. Alternate opening.
So alternate opening. So in this one, we it's like we said, it's the alternate opening. So we go from the crawl to some spaceships, the Resistance fleet, and we pan down to what looks like the top of a planet, but then we pan down further, and it's actually Finn's sleeping, Finn in a medical coma under the medical dome sort of thing that he's under, and then it transitions into Finn waking up, and he's kind of thrust back into the action as the Resistance fleet is being found and ambushed by the First Order. And I actually for this one I actually accidentally watched the commentary version
with
with
Ryan's
Ryan Johnson's commentary because I didn't realize that there were
make it
two of each one.
exceptionally confusing.
They do make it
On Disney
exceptionally
Plus, I will say
confusing.
that.
But I will say, for all that you were saying about not having as much of a view into the creative process in terms of deleted scenes with the new Disney regime, and as much as I dislike how Ryan Johnson handled a lot of The Last Jedi, as much as I disagree with some of the decisions that he no hate to him, personally or as a director, but as much as I didn't enjoy some of his decisions and some of what he did, I gotta hand it to him. I really admire the fact that we got these scenes where he was
Yeah,
was
Ryan
coming
was
out and
definitely an
kind of
exception to that rule.
yeah, the fact that he was for all that I and a lot of fans dislike about what he did and the direction that he went, all having each and every one of those scenes, having, and even beyond those scenes, there's the hour and a half long documentary that's also down there in those deleted scenes
And
where
he and
unfortunately no one
JJ
can
do
find it.
commentaries on Force Awakens and The Last Jedi.
I didn't see any JJ commentaries on the Force Awakens features. Are they there?
Yeah, it's just like the film with commentary.
Oh, the film with commentary. Okay, but even more so, yeah. Shout out to
Ryan does that.
yeah,
So.
both of them, and especially Ryan Johnson for giving us that insight and wanting to share these parts of the process, especially with the deleted scenes, because I really do think that as an audience and as fans, it's a really fun way to kind of take a little peek behind the curtain, of what the directors want to show us or tell us about the process. And Ryan Johnson said he got rid of this because he said he wanted to put the movie over being clever, and he thought that this was just being clever. I actually disagree. I think that I thought that would be an amazing way to open the movie. I think seeing Finn against that starfield and just opening with immediately audience being reminded of him and his attachment to Poe and his attachment to Rey, and really of all the people in this movie, how far he has come from being in the completely within the machinations of the First Order to fighting alongside the Resistance and becoming friends with Poe and Rey. I really thought that that's an amazing way to open, as well as being visually pretty darn clever and something very different than any Star Wars opening scene we'd seen before. So I'm actually going to say keep, and that might be my favorite of all these deleted scenes. One of my favorite, maybe not my very favorite. There's a couple of, but one of my favorites actually. I'm a big fan of it.
I'm gonna disagree with you there. I thought that I understand visually it's interesting. I just think that the regular opening of TLJ flows a little bit better. I think that Finn, we know he's gonna be okay. There's like a whole we know he's gonna be okay, and I feel like the immediate danger is on oh shit. they destroyed Starkiller Base, but they're gonna know the First Order's gonna know where their base is, and so the Resistance has got to scramble. And I think that the opening of the film does a way better job. The actual opening of the film does a way better job at communicating that, where
Yeah,
we can save some of the immediate concerns about Finn and also Rey, like what's Luke gonna say to her, all that kind of stuff. Like
yeah,
we can table that slightly until we make sure that the Resistance is up into space and that their,
yeah.
you know, base is evacuated.
I think that's where we disagree. Where I love starting with the characters. I love starting with the people. With the very souls of why these stories are impactful and why we want them, why we want to see them again and again. So I
Um,
guess that's where we differ. But I understand what you mean. Like it definitely sets a different tone and a different pace to begin the movie.
the caretaker the village sequence, which is Rey's third trial. We only see two of them in the movie. Um, Luke sends a Luke tells Rey that there are raiders attacking a caretaker village, and heavily implies that a Jedi would not go to help them, but Rey does go to help them anyway. At which point she sees that they're not being raided. In fact, that they're having a good old party, and she sees Luke there, and she's like, "What the fuck, dude?" And he was like, "I just thought it was funny." And is at this point that Rey once again Luke to be the hero that she saw him as. I love this sequence. I really do. The legend of Luke Skywalker that you hated, I believed in it, is a
Yeah,
fire line.
it's a
Um,
fantastic line. Yeah,
and what I love about this, like, I understand that I believe this was cut for pacing reasons, and I understand that. What I love about this lesson is that Luke thinks he's teaching Rey one thing, but he's actually teaching her a completely different thing. He
completely
thinks
agreed.
he thinks he's teaching Rey the lesson that the spark that she has is necessary for the Resistance survival and not the Jedi. But what he's really teaching her, I think partially without even realizing it, is he's he's he set up a Cloud City scenario for her. He
Mm,
said, "Well, look, if you go and rush into danger without knowing the full story, you can like that can be risky."
yeah,
Again, look what Luke did in the original trilogy. He rushed into danger. He ended up Han was frozen in carbonite. He lost an arm, and so what I think this actually communicates really well is that Luke thought he had Luke thought he had left the Jedi, and Luke may have left the Jedi, but the Jedi never left Luke. Like, like that was a very Jedi lesson he was teaching Rey, and so I
yeah,
think as much as he hates the Jedi legacy, mostly just because he hates himself and how much that he failed.
yeah.
I think the really I think he once Rey reminds him of why the Jedi are needed, he's way quicker to get back into the Jedi mindset than even he may realize.
Yeah. I agree. I'm completely for keeping this. I would have loved to see this scene in the movie. I think while the twist and the way that the actual twist part of it is executed is sort of such a complete, like it feels almost a little bit, I don't know what the right word is, maybe a little bit cheesy and insincere just because of how much of a whiplash it is. But I think that it really helps bolster the emotional struggle that Ray is experiencing, exactly what you talked about, kind of her fire and her drive and the legend of Luke, and kind of, and in a way speaking to the audience as well, is sort of like what Luke Skywalker means in the original trilogy, what he means to the characters, to the galaxy, to the audience, versus who he actually has become, to the point where he's kind of just like sitting back and cynically trolling Ray a little bit throughout this part of the movie. I think what Luke shares as well, it illuminates sort of how he's changed, and how he's become, this sort of very, very, you know this sort of very, very dark, disgruntled version of himself, I really think that it adds a lot. It kind of fills out a little bit some of the questions I have about like how the hell did we end up here, basically. So I really like this scene as well, and I like seeing the caretakers as well. I think
Yeah,
they're a lot of fun.
they are. Extended father chase. This is just an extended version of the
Yeah,
father chase,
yeah,
as we've talked about. They chase through more buildings of Canto Bight. We get to see who I know is friend of the show Laura Kelly's Headpin Shocklop, who's that weird little naked
yeah.
guy running around. Um,
Got to have a weird little naked guy running around.
in spite of all of that, I think the father chase is fine as it is.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. I mean, in my opinion, I think yeah, I already feel like the Canto Bight sort of the Canto Bight subplot is way too kind of it's already to me it already feels bloated and a bit side questy. So I think that adding on more wouldn't have fixed that for me personally.
um, Jacob, let's get to the next
It's
one.
kind of weird you recorded that. We have Finn, taking a
Finn
moment.
watching The Force Awakens.
Yeah, Finn taking a moment for himself. Having a moment of emotion, of doubt, of fear, of pain on the bridge of the
Radis.
Radis. Yes, the Radis. And BB-8 rolls in and is kind of, acting like a very, very energetic dog, kind of like, Ben, what's wrong? What's going on? And then he plays a recording of Rey at the end of The Force Awakens when she's saying, we'll see each other again soon, my friend. I know it. And she kisses him on the forehead. And Finn looks at BB-8 and says, you know what? It's kind of weird you recorded that. And then he gets up and moves on to the next moment. What do you think about this one? I'm kind of torn on this one.
Unnecessary. It's
Yeah.
unnecessary. I don't need
I
to see Finn watching The Force Awakens.
yeah. I think this could add a little bit for Finn, I think, and sort of what his motivations and what his heart desires is. Heart desires, not romantically, but just in terms of, what he feels, for Rey and for his friends and, what he's gone through. But I would agree, it's a little unnecessary. So I'm going to say no, although it is a funny line.
All right, Luke has a moment in which Luke takes a beat to himself and just like really processing that his good friend Han Solo is gone.
Yeah.
Cutting to Leia, a bit of mental communication maybe on their behalf. It's up
Yeah.
to interpretation whether there actually is or not. But
There's
I
a
love
sense of,
this.
at the very least, there's an undeniable sense of cosmic togetherness of the
Yeah,
brother and sister.
I I love this. I think that it is one of my gripes with The Last Jedi that there wasn't a clearer moment of
Yeah.
Luke getting to hear, oh yeah, Han's dead, by the way. Like
Yeah.
this is the guy. This is the guy Luke always looked up to. This is the guy who was
Yeah.
married to his sister and all that kind of stuff. And this is
Yeah.
and now he's gone. And I really wish this had been in the film because
Yeah.
I think Luke, as well as all of us, need to have those moments of, oh yeah, Han Solo's dead.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think I completely agree. I think that this scene is amazing, and it is such a shame. It is such a shame that they cut it out. I think anything that the Last Jedi can do, in my opinion, from my experience of it, I think anything that the Last Jedi can do to kind of give Luke more depth and more of an empathetic angle with regards to the audience, I am all for. Because with this scene, this is one of those moments that kind of hints at and really lets the audience see, like, for all the shit that he's kind of saying, and for as grouchy as he is being, like, he's not just like a mean old bastard in this movie. Like, he really does, like, he really is carrying incredible pain and guilt, not just with regards to Han Solo, but with regards to so many things. His sister, kind of the life and the future that he wanted to build for himself and for the new Jedi Order. And I think we see it's about Han Solo and Luke, but it's also about so much more than that. This little moment where he has sort of an upwelling of grief and emotion. So yeah, I can't understate how much I wish that they had kept this moment in.
Yeah. Paige's gun jams. Paige's gun jams. Like that's all that happens. I said no.
Yeah, it's again, it's superfluous. Like we get what we need from Paige as a character and how she kind of sets up Rose, anger towards Finn for trying to desert. Like Paige is great, Paige is fine, but we don't need it. I'll say no. Phasma squealed like a whoop hog
Yeah.
is next after this.
Which I think actually prevents Phasma, or at least staves off a little bit of Boba Fett Maul syndrome for Phasma, where like at least she goes out like fighting. At least
Yeah.
we have that ruthless scene of her executing all of her own troopers to save
Yeah.
her own skin, and then Finn does the rebel scum, but it's
Yeah.
not but this time it's by a repeating blaster and not by the vibroaxe. Even though I do love the vibroaxe and that like moment of rebel scum and then him like just swinging it at her, I think that this extended stuff with Phasma is really great, and so I'm going yes.
I'm torn on this one because on the one hand, like, maybe I'll say no because I think that just in the heat of the moment, with everything going on around them and kind of this extremely chaotic time on the bridge of, I'm forgetting, okay, not the bridge, but in the hangar of Snoke's flagship, I just feel like it slows when I was watching it. I feel like it slows it down to a point where I'm like, how can this really be? How can this really be happening right now? Like it feels like sort of a disconnect between the pacing of this scene and the overall urgency and danger of this situation. I think that it's an interesting concept for them to explore of kind of Phasma being Finn kind of confronting Phasma about, her, perceived kind of loyalty for the First Order versus her actual cowardice. But I just think that her like killing all four of the troopers that quickly and then I don't know, it just doesn't make a ton of sense for me. Also, at this point, I feel like we've already kind of realized at this point in the movie that Phasma is not really that important in the grand scheme of things in either of the movies that she's in. So I'm okay with this. I'm okay with them glossing over this bit. So it's close, but I'm gonna say no for this one.
All right. Poe is not much of a sewer
Mm,
where Finn and Poe have this little quick conversation where Finn can't exactly explain. And what I love about this, I'm tipping my hand immediately on this. What I love about this is that I think a lot of people there's this common complaint about The Last Jedi that I think is just wrong. I think that people are just missing something. I'm not saying that like I'm not saying that all criticisms of Last Jedi are like that. I'm just saying that this one specifically, I've heard from quite a few people that The Last Jedi repeats Finn's arc from The Force Awakens. No, it doesn't. Finn had to learn that the First Order was bad, but just because First Order bad, just because he knows that, doesn't mean that he's immediately on the side of the Resistance. And I believe that that's what Canto Bight and all this film teaches him, which is that yes, the Resistance are the ones who are going to stand up to the Empire and stand up to the First Order and restore the Republic back to the galaxy. They're like running away is a coward's move. He needs to stand and fight, and very much at the beginning of the film, he wants to run away.
yeah,
He
he
gets to,
tries.
and I think that this scene clarifies that a lot better.
Yeah, I think everything that you said, I agree with. I think as well, giving Finn and Poe a little moment, a little reminder of the magic that they brought to Episode 7. Given that they don't have much time together in this movie, I like that. I like that this scene sort of shows that that's not completely forgotten about in the story. Sort of their relationship. So yeah, I think it's a great moment, and I would have loved to see it in the final cut.
All right. Ray and Chewie in the Falcon. This is Rey and Chewie seeing the assault on the what we later learn is the projection of Luke Skywalker on Crate. And I actually really like this just because I don't think in the I believe in the original version, I don't believe that Rey got to see the Luke projection, and I like that she got to see like, oh yeah, my master, like he's got it back in him. He's Luke Skywalker I know and love. I knew and loved from the legends and all that kind of stuff. Like I like that she gets to see that up close because originally she didn't, which is not the hugest idea, like which is not a big deal because everybody else saw it. But like I
Yeah.
like that she gets to see it in this one. So yes,
You bring up an interesting point about Rey getting to see and Rey getting that moment, but all that she gets is just the cloud of smoke from the laser fire, and she just
yeah,
says, "Well, we're not going that way," and turns away. So for that reason, I'm saying no, because I think that cutting too far away from Luke and Kylo during this moment might just cut down a little too much the tension of what's happening in a way that undermines the importance of their reunion and confrontation. So for me, I'm going to go with no on this one.
all right.
Although it is a nice
Um,
moment.
Rose and Finn go to where they belong. It's just Rose and Finn deciding to go to Crate and join the Resistance, kind of putting a capstone on Finn's arc in this film that I don't think was entirely necessary. So I said no.
I said no as well. I think I don't know. I do like you said, it acts like a coda for the first part of their story, but once again, I think, and it's visually stunning as well. The shots of the shuttle flying away from the First Order from the ship, the ruined First Order flagship, are incredible. I'm not sure about the actual dialogue. Yeah, I could go without this one. Rose
Next,
bites the hand that
yeah,
taunts her is next. So Hux comes out, and he actually he's basically just taunting Finn and Rose after they've been captured on the in the First Order hangar, and he touches Rose on the face, and he finds her necklace, and he says, "Oh, your people were always vermin. I'm glad we wiped you out." And then she actually bites his hand and doesn't let go, and it turns into a little kerfuffle. I don't know.
I
I
love this.
said no. It was an interesting moment. I think it was a little too on the nose, or should I say a little too on the finger.
No,
Um,
I fucking love this. I think it's like very funny. Like genuinely like it's so unexpected and Hux gets so pissy about it. And like, like the way he's like so put aghast by it where when you realize that like 10 seconds earlier he was talking about how easy and nice it was to conquer her planet. I'm like,
yeah,
dude, if you honestly did not expect her to do anything, you were on crack.
true. Yeah,
And so there's something so incredibly raw about Rose biting Hux's finger that I really appreciate for some reason.
yeah. I
Uh,
can see it. I think it
taking a
has
good
merit.
bite out of the fascists.
It would have really been a choice to put this in. And
Yeah, it
I
would
think
have.
you make a very good point. I'm still going with no, but I'm it might work.
Yeah,
It really might work. I'm not really sure, to be honest, but it really might work. So
the
last but
care.
not least,
Not last but not least, we have two more. The caretaker sizes up Ray, which is mostly just a little like comedic beat with Ray and one of the caretakers before she goes to train with Luke on the first lesson.
yeah, because it's kind of the caretakers as well being mad that she during her vision kind of connection with Kylo, she shot her blaster and put a hole in the wall of the ancient Jedi temples that the caretakers dedicate their lives to maintain. So they're mad. So they're understandably a little mad. Understandably a
Yeah,
little mad. What do you think?
I
Well,
said I said no. I don't think it added too much. So yeah,
I'm actually going to say yes for this one. I think the argument for no is that yes, it does. It maybe it undermines the remoteness and isolation of Octo a little bit to make the caretakers a really big part of the not a big part, but to make them like a recurring kind of little beat in the Octo part of the story. But despite this, I'm going to say yes, just because I like the caretakers, and I like seeing them. I think it kind of differentiates Luke and what he's doing a little bit from like the traditional kind of Jedi exile, and he's doing something a little different for a little bit of a different reason, you know, and that's reflected by the fact that like he is in community with a lot of other people, a little bit more like Ben and a little bit less like Yoda, of literally being out in the middle of the wilderness.
All right, and then finally, the costumes and creatures of Canto Bight, which is a half deleted scene, half sizzle reel of
Yeah,
just some of the other stuff that the great creature shop over at Lucasfilm made for the Canto Bight sequences. Didn't find anything specifically like enthralling, so I said no.
I said a
Um,
resounding yes for this one. I think first off, I absolutely love the funky, wacky space jazz backing track that they have for this one. I think this deleted scene, and they would have to intersperse these shots, here and there. I'm not exactly sure how it would work, but this had some of the most wacky, bizarre, and brilliant costuming, makeup, and character design that I've ever seen in Star Wars, and certainly that this movie had to offer. If we had to spend so much time on Canto Bight, I would love to see some of these characters, some of these designs, some of these costumes make it into the final cut, because there was some. If you haven't seen it, go watch this.
yeah,
Go
you
watch
can find it
this
under the Last
deleted
Jedi
scene.
extras.
Yeah, because it,
Um,
it's it's incredibly entertaining. It really is.
all right, so yeah, those are the two films that we have actually have deleted scenes for. We're going to be talking about stuff that's been talked about for Rise of Skywalker,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of stuff that was talked
Okay.
about and being filmed or like developed or something like that.
Okay.
First one, Palpatine's broadcast, which actually happened in Fortnite.
I saw it in Fortnite.
Actually,
I'll
Jacob,
admit it.
actually let's do a little. Let's do a little.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll get struck by this. Let's watch it. Let's watch
Do
Palpatine's
you think?
broadcast in Fortnite.
Sorry.
Yeah, before we talk about Palpatine's message, because this is the one of the ones we can actually watch, sort of the Fortnite version at least. Let's take a look, shall we?
Let's take a look.
At last, the work of generations is complete. The great error is corrected. The day of victory is at hand. The day of revenge. The day of the Sith.
All right, that was it. So, what do you think about this? And should there have been a speech in the film?
I mean, look, we can. I think bottom line, I think if it's something like, I think the movie still makes sense without this scene. Like this isn't make or break for the movie, although it is cool. So I think like putting it in a video game might not be the best for the benefit of people who don't play that particular video game. I will say. That being said, I don't know how exactly they would have put this into the film, particularly at the beginning, that wouldn't have radically changed the kind of the scope of the movie in those opening moments or the opening stretch. So I would be okay with leaving this out, because it's pretty far from being a traditional movie scene. Yeah, you could say hats off to them for on the one hand, trying something very different, a very non-conventional kind of storytelling, for working something into the movie. What do you think, Eli?
I'm in complete agreement with you. I think that, like, I was thinking maybe like a cinematic short would have been interesting, like on the Star Wars YouTube channel to release
Yeah.
this or something like that. But we don't
Yeah.
need this for the movie, and I don't like particularly want this for the movie. It's not really important. The
Yeah.
important stuff is that Palpatine's back, and that all of the stuff in this trilogy has been planned by him for years, as Palpatine does.
Yeah.
Palpatine does what Palpatine does, and like the like actual like nitty-gritty of the details doesn't really matter to me. So I said no.
I will say
Hooks
as
and
well.
Pride on Mustafar. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, not important. We can go on.
No,
Do we know?
sure.
I was just going to say the entire, also not just that Palpatine speech sheet, but that entire event on Fortnite, which I actually did play and I logged onto the game and watched it. It was so just absolutely strange and out of left field. It was kind of amazing. We had like J.J. Abrams was like giving a talk as like a giant hologram, if I remember at one point. Like it was out there. It was really out there.
Interesting.
And I kind of congratulate them for really going for it, even though I don't think it fully panned out exactly as I would have thought would be good for the movie. I applaud them for going for it.
They went for it. They swung for the fences. Hux and Pride on Mustafar. Anything, like really anything more we can get on Mustafar at the beginning of that movie is a yes for me. But especially, I will say, I think another scene to establish the fact that Pride is this old, dyed-in-the-wool talent, and that Hux, as much as he was brought up, this incredibly radicalized, that he is
he's more of a neophyte.
That and that he is like getting frustrated with Kylo Ren and the way the First Order is going, not for any moral reasons, just because he hates him.
Yeah.
And so I said yes for Hux and Pride on Mustafar.
I'll say yes as well then. I will. Got
Go
Kylo Ren
ahead.
battling Alazmec warriors at Fortress Vader and meeting the Eye of Webbish Bog on Mustafar. Now, this is something that reminds you that the genesis of this particular movie had a lot of twists and turns. When you read something like that, you're like, okay. Yeah, they really went through a lot of things to get where they got to.
The Eye of the Webbish Bog is still canon. It appeared in the Darth Vader comics, as is incredibly, like, I think this is like, I don't think I'm playing into my, I don't think I can play into, I don't think I can escape the allegations exactly of who I am, and I especially can't by saying that I absolutely fucking love the Eye of the Webbish Bog.
It's
one of my original one of my original club shadows after Ochi. I just love weird little guys who are just weird and supernatural and do stuff, or in the case of Ochi, don't.
They're attached to the top of like a giant creepy human body.
It beautiful stuff. Anything more on Mustafar, I'd say yes. And I have the Webbish Bog, which again is canon. Vader went to see it. I would say yes. But I totally understand if Jacob will disagree on this one.
I'm gonna say absolutely not. I gotta draw the line somewhere. This movie already has so much going on, and it's so all over the place. It's a no for me. It's a pass for me.
All right. Extended hyperspace skipping. The hyperspace skipping sequence was fun, but we don't need to overcomplicate it.
We don't need extended light speed skipping. Next.
We don't need extended repairs of Kylo Ren's mask. I would have loved to see more Albrecht, but also that's because Albrecht's another one of my weird little guys who I like.
But I actually would have liked to see more repairs of Kylo Ren's mask. I think that one in particular could be interesting. Maybe we learn something more about Kylo Ren. Maybe we get a little deeper into his head to kind of raise the stakes heading into the second act of the movie.
Charles Soule is doing a new Kylo Ren comic run.
Exciting stuff.
What is it called? Legacy of Vader, I think it's called.
Yeah.
It takes place between Last Jedi and Rise. A scene further explaining Palpatine's return.
Was there ever a deleted scene that would be needed more than this one? In my opinion, the answer might be no. Because when I watch this movie, I keep going, guys, you forgot something. And I know what you're going to say. Star Wars is about the why, not the how. I'm not going I'm not going to start a fight. I'm not going to start a quarrel. I know how we both feel about this. For me, that's going to be a yes. I'll leave it at that.
For me, it's also a yes, but so people can shut up about like wanting to hear the explanation about how Palpatine returned.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, no, I understand people's issue with it, but like it's been like I'm not saying to you, I really am not. Like it's been 5 years. Like, come on, people. I'm so done with hearing about we never got an explanation of Palpatine's return. But I will say, do I want to hear more of the Eldritch stuff that Palpatine did? Yes, I do.
Yeah, no, even like not even trying to hate. Like I honestly agree. Like the whole, like kind of like the creepy, macabre Palpatine cloning aspect of this movie was one part of the movie that I thought they did do incredibly well. Aside from the fact that they like missed a chance to like actually explain
and they had a great opportunity in the Bad Batch, and then they didn't do it.
They also didn't do that.
I think this is some of Jacob and my leftover frustration of the Bad Batch seeping in.
Oh, I love the Bad Batch. I love Omega.
Me too.
I love all those clones, but man, they really held out on us.
But
they said
Yeah.
I'm resigned at this point. Like I'm resigned at this point. If we don't really know at this point, we're probably never gonna know.
I wouldn't say that, but it does.
At least
it does seem
on
like
screen.
It's
like in
pretty
like books and comics are one thing, but like I feel like Bad Batch was our best.
I don't know if
on
they're
screen
gonna
sort of lore. Yeah. Full.
Yeah, on screen, I think you're probably right. Extended scenes of Rose Tico, which I say an emphatic fuck yes.
To which I say Rose Tico doing what exactly? Because that is very vague. Yeah. I guess I'll say yes. I think Rose wasn't one of my. They kind of like cut her out of this movie a little bit after the last movie. Like
they did. They absolutely did. What I heard from Chris Terrio, one of the writers of this film, he said in a review that a lot of the stuff that Rose was doing was with Leia on the Agent Cost base. And that a lot of it was cut, not because of Rose, but because they were fiddling around with a lot of Leia stuff with the CGI, and it just didn't work. And so Rose was kind of an unfortunate side effect of that. Even so, the lack of Rose in this film is one of my biggest problems with it. And I don't have a lot of big problems with this film, but that is definitely one of them. And so, am I going for more? Am I going to say more Rose? Yes, I'm going to say more Rose. I love that character.
Yeah. I'll say more as well. A scene featuring Kylo Ren paying respect to Vader's mask. See, I feel like we already got this in The Force Awakens.
That's what I'm saying. Like the one in The Force Awakens. You did all that you needed to do with that in The Force Awakens.
Yeah. We know he's your grandpa. We know you like have this unhealthy obsession with him.
And unless unless a certain spirit of somebody else were to show up, not me referencing another deleted scene that we might not be getting to soon, I don't see a necessity to do this again. Yeah, I agree. Extended Knights of Ren search on Pasaana. Yes, please. I want Knights of Ren to do like anything. I appreciate when they're allowed to do like anything, which they were not allowed to do with The Rise of Skywalker for reasons.
I would agree. Like, even if we already kind of know that they're not going to be a big part of this trilogy, and we're disappointed by that after them getting hyped in Episode 7. Yeah, a little something would have been nice. Something
with the Knights of Ren would have been nice. Extended search for Rey on Pasaana. I don't think. Just from that, again, we're reading the descriptions of these, so there's not as much to go off of. But I'm not convinced that we need more of that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Extended activity on Kijimi. I'm very much in the same boat with that. Where I'm not sure if maybe we needed a little more time on Kijimi, but I'm not much more convinced than Pasaana for that one.
Kijimi. I feel like part of the problem I have with this movie is it's just so all over the place, and it just tries to cram in so much. I feel like this would not help that at all. So I'll say no as well.
Pride wielding his swagger stick.
What is a
I don't.
swagger stick, and why does it sound like innuendo for something that who shouldn't be mentioned?
So it's actually a real world term. It's a real world
Really?
word. Yeah, it's a real world term. It was used by
Okay.
Roman centurions. I'm just looking at this right now. It was used
Oh, it's
apparently
the
in British.
okay, yeah. I just looked at it. I got the hyperlink on Wookieepedia. Yeah. Okay, Trench had one. Yeah. Okay, a swagger stick.
Yeah,
I'm still gonna
I
say
just
no
like.
because why?
Okay,
Just why?
yeah, I like Richard E. Grant, so I said yes, and more
Fair
pride
enough.
is good pride for me.
You know what? Screw it. There's already like 3 movies in one in this thing. Why not? I'll say yes
Um,
as well. I like
More
pride in
scenes
this.
on Kefir. I don't know what this was referencing specifically, but I will say that I would have loved. That's another one of my small gripes with this film is I would have loved to see more of Janet's crew. Like we know she has them. I just like love to hear
Yeah.
from them. Like hear like that they like hear from them about turning against the Empire on Ansett Island and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that would have been very neat.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to have the whole Kef beer part in here, you might as well flush it out, especially vis-a-vis Jana. So I'll say yes as well.
We have concept art for this next scene,
Oh,
which I don't
we
know
do.
if you've seen, and this is if this scene is in the Rise of Skywalker novelization.
I haven't. Where do I torture scene between Kylo Ren and Chewbacca considered too dark to be in the final movie? Wow. Where would this have taken place?
This would have been. So remember when they did the fake out death with Chewie,
Yes.
but he was actually captured?
Yes.
I just shared my screen, Jacob. This is what it would look like.
Oh, okay.
That's the concept art for it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would. I mean, yeah, seems like a Star Wars torture scene, a pretty hardcore one. I just found on Reddit as well. So it looks like when Anthony Daniels around a year ago auctioned off some Star Wars items, a collection of Rise of Skywalker script pages looked like it had some more details of the torture scene. Rey will understand it soon. What was the scavenger's mission? Where is she going? Give me the answer, or I'll take it myself. Off a scared Chewie. Omitted. Yeah, so that, I mean,
for me, this one's for me is kind of cut and dry for me. The reason I'm saying no is not because I think it would have been too dark, but I think it would have just thrown off pacing stuff.
I'll agree with that.
And so I like and if you're gonna do a scene like that, you got to stop to do it right. And I think the novel has enough time to do it right. I think the movie doesn't have that luxury. A shot of Rey wearing dark robes sitting on Palpatine's throne. I mean, Rey has like 2 or 3 visions in this movie. Hell yeah, throw it in there.
Yeah, like, why not?
Like throw it in there. Leia holding Han's medal on her deathbed. Is it just me? I think the Rise of Skywalker played to this, which I'm still trying to understand, and a lot of fans have the issue of this. I never gave two shits about the medals. Like, I know Chewie didn't get one, and then Leia finally gets to give him one in Rise of Skywalker. Okay, cool. And then she's holding Han's medal in this deleted scene. Like, okay, cool. They got medals for destroying the first Death Star. Cool, I guess. And like, oh, we didn't give one to Chewbacca, but now we're giving one to him. I'm like, I stopped caring about these fucking medals as soon as the movie ended.
I think it's just about it being a representation of Han Solo, and of their relationship, and kind of by holding on to that, she's holding on to her memory of Han, who, despite all their kind of problems, like, it's not what defines her by any means, but they were but more or less life partners, and she's holding on to as well, think back to episode 7. By holding on to Han, she's holding on to Ben.
Yeah.
And she's holding on to the hope that even on her deathbed that her son can still be redeemed.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I'll say yes, because I think it could be poignant.
Yeah. Leia and Luke's duel extended. I'm just gonna read my notes straight from this. Wait, so you're asking me if I wanted an extended version of the training duel in the flashback between Luke and Leia? Is that even a question? Fuck yes.
Yeah, I'll go with yes as well. Of, you know,
Yeah.
what could have been, and it's beautiful and sad and poignant.
Lando and Chewie leaving for Exegol. This is actually the one I compared to the Force Awakens one. You're not going to do a call in for the People's Fleet like that just takes too long and would slow down the pacing. So if you're not going to do it like a full one, especially for something as grand as the People's Fleet, don't. So I'd say no.
Yeah, I would give this one a miss as well.
A scene with Bulio imprisoned aboard the Steadfast. I said no just because I love the suddenness of that cut where Kylo Ren puts Bulio's head on the table. I think is so revolting and shocking, and I think anything like between like win the war, closes the door, and that kind of removes the shock and awe factor.
Yeah.
Of that.
Yeah, like sometimes like it's kind of a reminder. It serves as a reminder of sort of like, yeah, it's like, the hero. Sometimes the heroes are very glamorous, and they make it out by the skin of their teeth, and they're, you got your Reys, you get your Lukes, and you have people that just unceremoniously are kind of forced to sacrifice everything because of the choice that they made to fight,
Yeah.
And they don't get necessarily a lot of memorialization, a lot of recognition,
But credit to Bulio, they did indeed win the war.
They did indeed win the war. R.I.P. my boy Bulio. I'll say no for this one as well. We need that contrast.
A rumored scene involving Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost played by Hayden Christensen.
Maybe.
So here's my thing, and I think we could combine this honestly with if you're okay with this, combining with this with the last one. Yeah. All of the Force Ghosts appear during Rey and Palpatine's final clash. I am firmly against this idea. I think that the Force Ghosts appearing like I think we get our you get your fun Easter egg fest. You get all of the Jedi came before, your Qui-Gons, your Obi-Wans, your Anakins, your Lukes, your Leias, and also you get Dave gets to throw in Ahsoka and Kanan there, and Adi Gallia is thrown in there, and all those people that's cool. But that final moment of I am all the Jedi should be about Rey. Like I don't like the Jedi weren't giving her anything in that moment. Like there's a read of that scene which is like the Force Ghosts were giving her a power amp. No. She was doing that all on her own. The Force Ghosts basically gave her the equivalent, at least in my view, of an intergalactic pep talk. For that reason, I'm saying no about the Force Ghost, but I'm saying yes about a scene with Anakin's Force Ghost, assuming it's not part of the Be With Me sequence. Like assuming I think it would have been cool, honestly, like with the stuff on Ahch-To in Rise, when Luke was coming, when Luke was doing his big explanation to Rey of everything, if we got a little moment with Anakin to see all three Skywalkers, like all three main characters on screen at the same time, I think that would have been incredibly special.
I think it would have been as well. Yeah, I'm all for the Anakin one, provided it's not part of it, because again, I think I'm not super opposed to the idea of Rey getting sort of a power amp, whatever you want to call it. I'm not super into the nitty gritty details of like the whole power scaling this, or like, well, this person's this powerful, or this is like, you can't really quantify that. Certain people are Star Wars, certain people are good at certain things.
I'm not saying this from a practical standpoint. I'm thinking saying it from a thematic standpoint of this is Rey's victory.
Yeah. I'm also just saying for my own, I don't want people to misinterpret what I say when I say that she's getting a boost. But I did interpret that scene as her kind of, drawing strength from all the Jedi who are standing behind her in this moment. I don't know how they would have done the Force Ghosts visually and not had it, at least the way that it ended up being shot and framed and set up, and the way that it was cut, it would have been a little weird. That being said, I'm not completely opposed to it, but for the sake of this, I'll say no. I think the voices were just fine.
Yeah. And finally, extended shot of the Citizens Fleet arriving at Exegol. 3 words, Jacob. 3 words. More Easter eggs.
Yeah.
You've sold me. You've sold me.
I'll
I
agree
want
with that
clear
one.
shots of the ghost. I want like the fucking
Yeah.
Havoc Marauder. I want like
Yeah.
Easter eggs the shit out of the People's Fleet.
The Havoc Marauder, that would be a future Easter egg at that point.
It would
That
be,
been like
and honestly,
a Easter egg
JJ, if
before.
you're listening, which you're not,
Yeah.
special edition this motherfucker. Put the Havoc
Yeah.
Marauder on the Rise of Skywalker.
That would be that would have been an amazing feat of coordination. I wish that somehow they could have done that, because that would be so good. Be like, why
Dude,
is
the
why
Bad
is
Batch
there
actually technically did exist.
yeah? Why is there a shot of this random ship 4 years later? Oh my gosh, that's the Havoc Marauder.
It's JJ, but it's the scene from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
You're not ready for this, but your kids are gonna love it.
Yeah. Also, even on a more immediate level, this is supposed to be one of the kind of big moments of the movie that you want to stand out in people's mind when they're walking out of the theater and they're mulling it over that night, the next day. It was certainly one of the moments that I was ruminating on and thinking about. Why not? Not milk it. That's the wrong word, but
I was
why
gonna say,
why not let it
moment.
Yeah, why not wring a lot out of it, you know? Like,
and there was already a lot wrung out of it in the film, but I think even more would have been great. It's one of my favorite parts of this film, and so like, yes, I want more of it. Like, you know, get a shot of get a better shot at the ghost, you know? Like,
oh yeah.
we know the ghosts in there. We know what other stuff in the People's Fleet do we like? What other ships? There are so many ships in there. There are over 14,000 ships in the. It's called the Citizens Fleet on Wookieepedia, but I call it the People's Fleet. Oh, the Fireball was there from Resistance. The Colossus was there. Let's see what else. Mon Calamari ships were there. A ship called the Anodyne 2 was there, which is what? What's the Anodyne 2? Oh, it's just a ship that actually does call in the People's Fleet sequence. It's in the audio. It's in the novelization of the Rise of Skywalker. Mining Guild freighters, Sullustan cargo freighters, T6 shuttles, which means that Ahsoka could have been there. Lancer ships, U-wings, heavy bombers from The Last Jedi, like.
Why not bring out the whole kitchen sink? You know, why not?
Throw it all into there, please. Yeah, I think that's our final verdicts. Yeah. But we're gonna make this spreadsheet. We're gonna link this spreadsheet in the description of this episode, and we're also gonna link just to remind myself. We're going to link the freaking broadcast video, Palpatine's broadcast video.
Yeah.
That's going to be it for this episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy. Next week, episode 154 of Star Wars in a Galaxy. That took me a second. 154 of Star Wars in a Galaxy. Might be a little bit of a shorter one. We are beginning season 19 and a half of Star Wars in a Galaxy.
We're doing half seasons now.
We've done that before. We've done that with Visions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But,
that's true.
But so season 19 and a half of Star Wars in the Galaxy will be Tales of the Empire, which, much like the Bad Batch, I am watching for a second time, and Jacob is watching for the first time.
That's right.
The next episode we'll do are the first 2 shorts revolving around Morgan Elsbeth. And then the week after, Jacob, myself, and our friend of the show, Andy, who's an Epic Confrontations competitor, as well as running their own show, Force Friends Rewatch, will be talking about the 3 Barriss Offee shorts from Tales of the Empire. And after that, we're going right in. We're getting to Andor. Season 20 of Star Wars in the Galaxy, Andor. sort of an informal prep to see prep for season 2 now that we know it's coming out in April. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. You can follow us everywhere. I'm phasing out my usage of Twitter following the election result. That this is the first episode of In a Galaxy recorded after the election result, and so yeah, due to the owner's views and how he plans on using that website, I'm going to start phasing off of Twitter, but I'm going to be very active on the In a Galaxy Blue Sky. So make sure to follow us on Blue Sky. I will put links down there and Threads as well. I will be using those two way more now. You can follow me. My link tree is linktr.ee/_OGFan327. Hope you enjoyed Bangers and Smashers Chief Shills, which will be out by the time this episode's out. It's not out right now, but it will be by the time this episode is posted. And I think if there's nothing else, all there's left to say is may the Force be with you.
Always.